Hello, family and friends. How are you today? My name is Praise for Where. I'm so excited that I'm on this trip of 196 days around the world of family life, getting inside of family life in every nation of the world. And this morning we landed in the country of Bangladesh. Whoa. I mean, that country is very close to India, but what do you need to know about Bangladesh? Bangladesh, to the east of India on the Bay of Bengal, is a South Asian country marked by lush greenery and many waterways. Its Padma, Meghna, and Jamuna rivers create fertile plains, and travel by boat is very common. I mean, what a spectacle. The closest I've seen to that is in Holland, where you can also travel, by boat within the vicinity. On the southern coast, the Sundarbans and an enormous mangrove forest shared with eastern India is home to the Royal Bengal tiger. Bangladesh is the most densely populated non island nation in the world, with approximately 125 million inhabitants living in an area of 55,813 square meters. There are about 2,240 persons per square mile. Wow. The majority of the population, 98%, is Bengali, with 2% belonging to the tribe and other non Bengali groups. Approximately 3% of the population is Muslim, 16% is Hindu, and 1% is Buddhist, Christian, or other. Annual population growth is about 2%. This is information is according to agriculture.com. Now, what are the 6 fun facts you need to understand about Bangladesh should you decide to work with them as a family life practitioner? I must warn you ahead of time, one of the most lucrative business you can get into is matchmaking. But your credibility must not be in doubt, and you must be a local to be able to do this successfully. As a foreigner, I don't know how you're going to convince them. Anyway, one, communal families. The family is central to one's social life in Bangladesh, forming the basis of individual support networks. The typical household in Bangladesh, especially in villages, often includes several generations. Indeed, if individuals do not live in a village, they usually still have relatives, such as parents, who reside in their home village. People living in urban areas and cities often try to make at least one trip per year to their village, particularly men that work in different locations to provide for their family. The general approach to family ties is communal, and people often act in the best interest of the community rather than based on individual preferences. So they think community before individuality. That's why when you see Bangladeshi citizens outside of Bangladesh, you see that they do a lot together. Number two, Bihar rules. The most common family unit in Bangladesh is called the Bihar. Now, this consists of a husband and wife, their unmarried children, and their adult sons with their wives and children. The Bihar provides economic stability and a form of social identity. The Bihar is both patriarchal and patrilineal. For example, it is common to find married sons living in their parents' household during the father's lifetime, right? And grandparents may also be present depending on the family's economic and personal situation. While sons often build separate houses for their nuclear families, they remain under their father's authority. So you understand, as a wife, if you're brought into that family, someone else may actually be leading and ruling over you outside of your husband. Patrilineal ties dominated the ideology of family life, but in practice, matrilineal ties were almost as important. Married women provided especially important links between their husbands' brothers' families. Now, number two, gender inequality. I mean, that's so pronounced in Bangladesh. The most eligible men in Bangladesh are either doctors, engineers, or professionals with jobs abroad whose parents insist prospective brides must be fair complexion, competent homemaker. So you can see, there is class, and then there is this thing about finding a life partner that will require the parents to know what they're looking out for. Marriage bureaus say that they find it most difficult to find a match for working women because most men do not want to marry a woman who is better qualified. Can you see that? Gender discrimination. So when a woman is better qualified, men are likely going to be afraid of you. So your greatness, the greatness of the men, is dependent on how small the women are. Every woman who are working let their parents decide a partner. Almost no one has challenged the practice of dowry either. Among the working class, family asks for large sum of money, gold, jewelry, or bicycles dowry, which has been found to be one of the main reasons for indebtedness among the rural and urban poor. So you better be ready to work for free, because I don't know if people will have money to pay you for the services you render. The United Nations Development Program, UNDP, is a report that has identified dowry as increasing the economic hardship of the rural poor. It is emerged as one of the main causes for indebtedness among the rural and urban poor, and one of the main reasons for divorce. So people are starting their life, starting a marriage, starting a family, but they're already in debt. Can you beat that? Number 4, there's arranged marriage and there's also child marriage. Many marriages are arranged and will generally take place once parents decide their child should be married. So it's your parents that decide you should be married, not you. Parents may contact agencies. We call them a guitar or a matchmaker, relatives and friends, to find an appropriate partner for their child. Parents often seek a match. Parents often seek to match their child with someone who is of similar or equal economic status, educational background, or religious piousness. Can you see the criteria? It's never about feelings or love or whatever you feel. However, this is changing with more Bangladeshis having more autonomy over whom they marry. So that's pretty changing now with the westernization getting into Bangladesh. Although Muslims and Hindu marriages have distinctive religious rituals, there are many common Bangladesh wedding practices across both. Bengali wedding practices, pardon me. Divorce is a source of social stigma, and thus it's uncommon for people to separate once they're married. But people are getting divorced right now. But it's very, very uncommon because it's treated as a stigma. So people would rather die than even divorce. Bangladesh has the world's worst record on child marriage. Okay, according to UNICEF, nearly 2/3 of girls are married before the age of 18. More than a quarter of girls are married before they reach 15. So there is child marriage in Bangladesh, and I know that there's a lot of concerted effort to stop that, and I hope it stops as fast as we can. I know the government is working on it, but I mean, it's still a practice in many of the villages. Number 5, a son is king, and matchmaking is lucrative. I mentioned that to you. Mothers cherished and indulged their sons in Bangladesh, while daughters were frequently more strictly disciplined and were assigned every household chores from an early age. Of course, because you need to prepare them for marriage, to go and become someone else's wife and give birth to children. In many families, the closest, most intimate, and most enduring emotional relationship was that between mother and son. So you can see that when you marry someone's son, the mother has a hold over you, as it were. The father was a more distant figure, worthy of formal respect, and the son's wife may remain a virtual stranger for a long time after marriage because your husband is still, taking instruction from his mother. The practice of proda, the traditional seclusion of women, very widely according to social milieu, but even in a relatively sophisticated advanced cycles, the core of the institution, the segregation of sexes, is still persist. If you are a respected matchmaker, you're in for a big business if you can match desires with reality. But like I said, you must be a local, because I don't know how you can get in that business if you don't know the villages. But I mean, who can tell? You can disrupt the system, and they may trust you because there's a particular spec that they're looking for. So which means you need to go from village to village to find their spec, whatever the father of the bride or the groom says they want. And number 6, what is it about elimination of gender-based violence? Well, poverty and traditional patriarchal society combined, particularly in rural areas, keep the rate of child marriage elevated despite national legislation. So yes, in principle, there is a ban on gender-based violence, but in practice, it's a no-no. At least from what I've seen and what I've studied and what I've witnessed, young girls are often considered an economic burden to their families. Prevailing cultural attitude mean that it is still difficult for girls to work and earn an income. So they have to depend on a man, which is why girls are married off too early. For families, marrying their daughters to older men in different families is often a family survival strategy. So the girl child is commerce, as it were. Dowry payments, which are relatively new but growing phenomenon in Bangladesh, are lower when girls are younger, acting as another incentive for families to marry their daughters at a young age. This is according to VSO International. A woman began to gain respect and security in her husband's or father-in-law's house only after giving birth to a son. So if you don't give birth to a son, nobody respects you. No wonder the girl child is treated the way they treat it. So your work is cut if you want to go and work in Bangladesh, because you need to interface with the culture, and the culture can be scary. It can actually break you down, and then you begin to wonder, what are you doing here? But guess what? Education is the key. If you learn to begin to educate them and begin to show the men what their girl child is capable of becoming, if they support the girl child, and also showing them what is happening around them and around the world, and how girls are becoming presidents, they're becoming CEOs across the world, and to say that they can actually make that country better because it's a very poor country. If they know the power of their workforce, which is resident in both male and female, then they will learn to collaborate. But your work is cut out. You have to deploy a strategy that can bypass conscious resistance. And there is only one way to do that. So if you want to go to Bangladesh and improve family life in Bangladesh and assist families there, you need to take the course Family Systems Engineering Certification Program, because that is one course that has been totally built to help you bypass conscious resistance, function within any culture of the world, and win consistently. So if you visit school.iampraisforward.com, you will find Family Systems Engineering Certification Program. And please do follow me on Instagram at the Family Life Therapist. What have you learned about Bangladesh as a family life professional? Trust me, tomorrow we will land in another nation of the world. Till then, keep loving, keep living, and please, Bangladesh needs you. You can go there and help an entire generation. I honor you. Bye bye.